channel. My name's Chrissy. In today's video we're going to be doing an Anastasia Subculture palette dupe. I'm going to show you all of the colors, and I'm also going to do a eyeshadow look and teach you how to blend eyeshadow as well. We're also going to do swatches and kind of talk about the colors and go over everything a little bit in depth. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get on with the video. Okay, so the dupe we're going to be talking about is from Be Bella Cosmetics, and this is their palette called Silent Night. This is the outer packaging. As you can see, it looks a lot like Morphe. It has that plasticky feel. It is very sturdy though. I believe there are 35 shades in this palette, like a typical Morphe palette. It also is set up a lot like a typical Morphe palette. These shades are the same size, and the shadows, in my opinion, are pretty much the exact same quality as Morphe. I'm not sure if they're the exact same formula, but I really honestly wouldn't be surprised if they were. I believe that the Be Bella Cosmetics palettes are around the same price or even cheaper. They also have brushes that are very comparable to Morphe as well. When I looked at the Anastasia palette, when I first saw it on Trendmood, I was so excited and ecstatic. And then I realized there's a lot of cool tones, and I am like a warm tone whore. But I still kind of looked past that but I still didn't really mind it because I love Anastasia shadows. I have the Modern Renaissance. It is my favorite palette. But I've heard some negative reviews, and it is kind of making me change my mind about whether I want to buy it or not. So I really want to test it in store and be able to swatch it and also research a little bit more. But I was thinking, in case there's anybody out there that would like a dupe, this is definitely one. This is going to cost you half the price of the Anastasia palette, and you're also going to get a ton more shades. As you can see, there's a maroon shade that's very similar to the one in the Anastasia palette. There's a deeper green shade, a lighter a lighter green shade. There's also like a orangey-ish shade, which I think is going to be a little more orange than the Anastasia palette, but similar-ish in tone. There are some very beautiful bronzy shades which are in the palette. This is kind of a pinky, kind of a very light pink pearlescent shade. This is more of a white bone shade. There are also some cranberries, some like antique, there's an antique gold. This is like a green with a, some more greens. There's definitely some medium browns. This is kind of like a medium brown, but almost the baby pukey color. So there's just a ton of shades. This is kind of like similar to Makeup Geek's Americano. There's just a ton of shades and variety, but I see a lot of similarities, especially with the greens, the maroon in the palette, the more bronzy shades, the orange shade, and the neutral browns. You can definitely see some similarities in this palette to the Anastasia Subculture palette. I definitely think this is a great dupe and a great option if you're on a budget. I mean, you could buy 2 palettes from Be Bella and it still be cheaper than the Anastasia palette. This is definitely a great dupe. I'm going to show you a look with this palette and do a few swatches and show you how it performs on the eyes. As you can see, the first bronzy shade is a little more golden, and this one's a little more like a true bronze, but I personally love both of them. This one's a little bit more high shine, but they will both look beautiful over the lid. Here are these swatches on my arm. I'm going to start priming my face with some Tarte Shape Tape. This is in the color Fair Neutral. I always use concealer to prime my eyes. I find that regular primer for the most part is too tacky and sticky on my eyes, and I just don't like the feeling. So I put just a very light amount. I don't like putting on too much because I find that it kind of messes with the eyeshadow if I put on a really thick layer. You definitely want to put on a smaller amount, and if you need to, build up from there. But eyeshadow primer is a great idea, or concealer, because for one, it hides any veininess on your eyes, and it also makes a blank canvas of one color, but it also helps to make your eyeshadows last all day and be true to color. Whereas if you just put it on bare skin, it's not going to be as true to color, and it's definitely not going to last very long on your eyelids. So using a eyeshadow primer or a concealer as an eyeshadow primer is definitely a good idea. You want to set that down with a translucent powder or an eyeshadow that is close to your skin tone. I'm just going to use a light amount of the RCMA. I want to make sure no color powder. Go from inner corner to outer corner and make sure everything is set. So as I stated before, I am definitely a warm tone whore. So I'm probably going to be using more warm tones out of this palette. I know you probably expect me to use some of the green, but I think I might do another look with this palette and show you the versatility of using warm tones as well as using some of the green tones. I'm going to take another Wet n Wild crease brush and just take this matte bone color and just apply that from lid to brow bone, right over everything I set. This is going to make it to where everything stays really true to color, and it also helps with the process of your brow bone highlight. I would say the only thing this palette is lacking is a very light crease shade, but that's okay. I'm going to go in with this medium toned brown color here and tap off the excess. And this is on a B Bella Cosmetics Pointed Blender 118. It's a very fluffy brush. It's great for putting down your first transition color. I'm just very lightly putting. This color is very pigmented, but I'm putting only a little bit on my brush because I don't want this color to be too dark. Since this is our first color, it's more going to be a background color and a transition color. Anytime I am doing eyeshadow, I put down a color usually that is a few shades darker than my skin tone. It's just going to be a background color, and it's really going to help you to blend all of your shades later on. But since this palette doesn't have one that's like technically light enough. I'm just really shearing this out and trying to make it light enough. Not putting too much on at a time. That is the biggest tip with eyeshadow, is going in with a smaller amount and building it up as you need it. If you go in with a ton of eyeshadow at once onto your eyes, it's going to take forever for you to be able to blend that out versus building it up slowly and getting it to the pigment that you want. So I'm going to take this yellowy orange shade on a Morphe M433 brush. It's a little bit smaller, as you can see, and tapered, and this works great for fitting right into the crease. So I'm going to pop that pretty much over that first shade, but I'm not going to bring it up as high as I blended the first shade. So as you can see, this just fits right in there and doesn't get it up too high. The shade is very pigmented. It is a little bit more powdery than the first shade, but I prefer my eyeshadows to be soft and blendable and pigmented than too dry, if you get what I'm saying. So I don't mind the fallout or the softness or powderiness of a shadow. I'm flipping my brush this way to help blend that a little bit better into the crease. So as you can see, that just brought a little bit more orange color to the look and made it a little bit brighter. Now I'm going to use this same brush, but I'm going to dip into that more maroony shade, and I'm going to just wiggle this on the outer corner. And I'm really picking up just the smallest amount because I want to be able to build it as I want it and not go in with too much and get a ton of fallout and all that jazz. And then as there's not too much on my brush, after I've packed it onto the outer corner, whatever's left, I'm just going to bring that into the crease. If you get some onto your actual mobile lid, that's okay, because we can cover that up earlier because we can cover that up later. This is a very, very beautiful pigmented berry tone. It's very, very pretty. I think it might be slightly warmer than the color in the Anastasia palette, but it looks very similar in my opinion. Now I'm going to switch to a Morphe M507 brush. This is an amazing brush. I don't know why more people don't talk about it. This is great for detail crease work, for nose contouring. It is amazing for lower lash line. This is one of the only brushes I use for my lower lash line because it has that fine point at the tip, but it's also very fluffy. So it just disperses the product evenly and blends it out like a dream. And for nose contour, amazing, because it is so small and fluffy. It just is absolutely perfect. I definitely recommend this brush. Tap off the excess and really just pack that onto the outer corner. So I'm just building this up as much till I get as much pigment as I want it to be. Like I said, I prefer to go in with less and then build up to what I want it to be. That first brush that we used and just go over all the edges of everything to make sure there's no harsh lines and everything is really, really blended out with no excess product on that first brush, just whatever's left. And I think I want just a little bit more darkness on the very, very outer corner. So I'm going to go ahead and use that really dark, deep brown shade on that same Morphe brush on the side of it. And I'm going to go right on my outer corner right here and just tap the brush And then when most of the product is off, just sweep it back and forth right on that outer corner. And I'm going to build this shade up to be as dark as I want it to be. This palette also comes with a beautiful black color, which I don't think the Anastasia palette comes with. So as you can see, that just added a little bit more darkness, and you have that really beautiful berry tone just peeking through. I'm going to do the same thing, take the first brush with no excess product and go right over the crease to make sure there's no harsh lines. Now I think I want to play with the beautiful bronze shade. I think this is one of the most beautiful shades in the palette. It is stunning. To make sure there's no fallout all over the place, I'm just going to spray with a tiny bit of Fix Plus. I spray every shadow or pigment. That's just how I personally like to do my makeup, because I like it to be more foiled and to give that more shiny effect. So I'm just putting this from the inner corner and then meeting it up about 1/3 of the way of the eye to that berry tone. And I'm bringing it all the way up into my crease. I'm going to dip into that kind of pinky shade, the first shade in the palette. And I'm going to put that right on my inner corner to kind of brighten everything up. I'm also going to take that same shade and pop this right under the brow bone. And just run that along the lower lash line. Use that same Morphe M507 brush with some of that first brown. And then I'm going to take some of the orangey shade and go right in the middle of the eye. Then taking that more maroon shade, same brush, right on the outer corner, kind of meeting it up and connecting it to the top. Would put on lashes, but I'm not going anywhere, so I'm not going to put some on. Voluminous Lash Paradise from L'Oreal, and a lot of people are saying this is a great dupe for the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I personally have been loving this mascara. I think it's actually better than the Too Faced Better Than Sex. For one, the wand is just a little bit smaller, and for two, the formula isn't as dry, but it's very buildable. So this is the finished look with the Be Bella Silent Night palette. So I definitely think this is a great dupe, and you're getting more shades for less money. Not every color that's in the Anastasia palette is in this palette, but there are a lot of similar colors, and I think the formula is very similar as well. It is quite soft and a little bit dusty, but Anastasia palettes are known to be that way, and in my opinion those are some of the best shadows because they are very pigmented and very, very blendable. I personally like shadows like that. I know some people don't, but I don't mind it if a shadow is powdery because I know it's going to be blendable and easy, very user-friendly. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Hey guys, it's Chrissy. This is the voluminous